Do not open a dictionary. A dictionary, you see, will expand and suck the world into a wordy vortex of syllables, unleashing the fury of words unused. Words like collywobbles, stomach rumblings, and gastromancy, fortune-telling by way of stomach rumblings. These unused words are hunting for revenge, the kind that flashes across a TV tuned to the Discovery Channel at midnight. Be afraid. This revenge will manifest itself in the unsuspecting dictionary reader's vocabulary. I, for instance, knew I'd lost when, in response to an inquiry from my Jenny Craig counselor, I smiled like a perfectly normal teenager and threw out my own form of verbal vomit. Well, I've been pretty good about staying on my diet and all, but I splurged the other day, so I'm feeling a bit crapulent. Far earlier than expected, I was ushered out of the Jenny Craig Center and spent a full 20 minutes on the curb, alternatively cursing at SUV tires grazing the sidewalk and wishing that I too had a car so I could engage in minivan ultimate doom. I'm pretty sure they've got it on Xbox, which, surprisingly enough, does not have an entry in the dictionary. Even more enticing than the words themselves are the definitions. Most dictionaries generally define definitions as statements of meaning. For me, in my awkward pre-adolescent years, definitions made sense of the nonsensical. Solid, tangible, and inescapably clear, definitions are definite. Black print locked onto pages that seem ageless and changeless. And whatever a dictionary couldn't give me, Uncle Robert did. He's significant in my story, and not only because he's one of the only uncles I have that has actually inherited his title. My family is composed of friendly people. Inevitably, then, we have many family friends, all of whom I found myself calling aunt or uncle. Webster says that a friend is a person to whom you are emotionally bound. An uncle, on the other hand, is defined as a mere blood relation. Uncle Robert, though my mother's brother, was more of a friend. He was bald as a ping-pong ball. His eyes were dark. They flashed from side to side a lot, the way eyes watching a ping-pong game do. Like a ping-pong ball, his mind too had a way of snapping back and forth rapidly, sticking on a single topic for a limited amount of time. At a relative's very Jewish wedding, complete with black-coated, long-bearded men, and women who had probably never seen their own knees, he and I were discussing manatees. But Uncle Robert, that makes no sense. Manatees live in the sea, but are definitely not cows, so then, by extension, they cannot be sea cows. Of course it makes sense. No, it doesn't. Does it say there are any spots on them? I lifted my dictionary, stabbing at the definition of the word manatee with my finger. Who says they need spots, he asked. Webster does. What else does Webster say? I started to read. Pronunciation. Man-a-tee of chiefly tropical origin. Does it say how many of them are killed by boats every year? I looked up at him with a raised eyebrow. No. What about the ones that just lose their fins? No. What about the pain they've probably got to live with? I mean, losing a fin has gotta hurt, right? I shook my head. Whether it was in agreement or not, I can't say. He smiled, his mouth stretching across his face, revealing a set of teeth that gleamed like the top of his head. Well, I guess the next time you'll need an encyclopedia. By the way, what do you want for your bat mitzvah? We never quite got there. To the bat mitzvah, I mean. I knew I loved him. I knew he loved me. I also knew he was dying. Cancer, his doctor said. It can't be helped. There's really nothing we can do. I'm sorry. My Uncle Robert was buried on a Friday. At least, I think it was a Friday. It could have just as easily been a Tuesday or Easter or Kwanzaa. Webster says a funeral is a ceremony meant to pay homage to a person recently deceased. I guess that's true. There were flowers, food, people dressed in black, and a coffin. I was 12, old enough to brush my own teeth, but young enough that my socks and my dress had to match my headband. I sat, legs tucked beneath me, in the grass outside the funeral home, beyond the pews and the vases that were taller than I was. I grazed my fingers over the pages of Webster's dictionary. I saw grief, I saw despair, I saw lugubrious. I saw his coffin, the biggest shoebox I'd ever seen, lined in wood veneer. And as I flipped each page, listening to the rustle of each sheet as it rolled backward and snapped, I also saw morose, sullen, and suicidal. None of them stopped me from crying out, screaming, wailing, clinging to my dictionary when the coffin slipped into the ground and into eternity. I was on my knees, watching the coffin sink. Tears fell. The sun, Yoki, as if flung from a frying pan, hung in the heights of a pure sky, mocking me. Trees lined the graveyard, spreading shade across patches of grass that rolled into the distance, disappearing into a far-off forest of birches and mystery. Those branches, reaching to the heavens and him, moved with the wind, and I watched the smoke of the memorial candles twist through tree branches, disappearing into an annihilating sky. I'm sitting at his grave right now, knees folded in the grass. Every time I'm here, the epitaph seems to sink deeper into the stone, just like my uncle's coffin did on that day. Every time I'm here, life makes more sense. Not too much more, because no one, including Webster, has ever said that life's meant to make any sense at all. There's some comfort in the certainty of each definition, but there's no promise. Eventually, we all have to ditch our dictionaries. We have to go, come on. My mom's calling me. I do have to go. I slide my legs forward and stand up haltingly, one shoulder dipping and then another, like a cow, really. I lift each finger slowly, loosening my grip on the dictionary I've always carried with me. I'm leaving it with him, leaning the volume, as thick as my hand and twice as long, against the tombstone. My legs jerk. I'm walking away. After all, I've yet to find a definition that reads, "Let go and live."